Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa. This is now becoming pretty much part of your weekly routine and quite possibly your favourite episode that we do. Tactical Debrief with Earl, avfc Scout. And if you are enjoying the debriefs, make sure you are smashing the likes. Because we beat Wolves, let's go big. Let's try and get 1,000 likes on this episode. Comment your thoughts, get involved, subscribe to the channel. Earl, how you doing?
Yeah, feeling good after another plus 3 points.
I think everyone's enjoying the debriefs because we don't lose when we do them. Like our little collaboration we got going on. Like we're pretty much talking about wins, so they are obviously really pleasing things to talk about, especially as a Villa and a football fan. And this game was a game of two halves. So what we're going to do is we are going to treat it as a game of two halves. It's going to be an episode of two halves. We're going to go straight in there first with the first half, and then we'll look at the second half. And if anyone has watched Match of the Day, you will have seen Unai Emery's interview after the game, where he describes the game in the first half as follows. We played really shit in the first half, right? So, Earl, let's get into that first half then. And we'll talk about the passing network, average positions, things to note that didn't quite go so well in the first half.
Yeah, well, like you say, this week I've broken down the passing network because it was a game of two halves, like you say. So I've broken it down. So we've got a first half one, and then we'll see the second half in a bit. But to note with that as well, seen as it is just one half, I've cut down the number of passes in order to make a link from 5 to 3. So those faint passes that you can see there are passes that have been made 3 times, and then the brighter ones obviously more. But yeah, first half, I just felt like we were a bit deep, weren't we?
Mm-hmm.
On average, a bit deep. I mean, apart from obviously the Ollie Watkins, the striker, and the left-hand side there of Dean and Ramsey, it just felt like we were quite deep, probably a bit too deep as well. You can see Onana there, number 24, is sitting in. That's what he does. Again, we've got some passes going down the right-hand side, but probably not as much as the left as usual. Yeah, the back three shape with Carlos coming in and Ezri Konsa as well. But yeah, I mean the top combinations, like you can see, Carlos to Konsa, Carlos to Torres. There's a lot, around the back, very deep.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know. What did you think, Luke?
I think you've got to sometimes give the opposition a bit of credit, and I think they probably made us play the way that we did. But I think from a Villa perspective, I just don't think the shape was there. I think we were quite narrow, quite congested. I think we were making some really bad decisions, and I think I do really think we probably struggled to understand what Emery wanted us to do in this game. And it's not a case of like we go out every game, we play the same way, blah, blah, blah. There are intricate areas of the game plan that Emery would want us to sort of execute. And I think it just looked like one of those where everything was just bad, wasn't it? That the passes were bad, the shape was bad, the positions where we were was bad. I think that just comes into the combination of us looking a little bit not sure on where we should be or who should be where or what each player should be doing. So, it was frustrating. And I just think it was probably a little bit difficult after that European game. Maybe in hindsight, we probably should have maybe freshened it up somewhere with somebody, even if it was just, say, Luca Dean for Maatsen, you've got that little bit more of a vibrant edge on the left. Or even if you say you take out Onana, put Barkley in just for one game, or, even the 60 minutes and then Onana comes on for the other 30. So I just think it was one of those where, it just wasn't the best from us. And I think if we do go and have a little look at some of the screen grabs, especially from the first half. This really annoyed me when I was in the ground watching it, because it was just like sort of like lackadaisical. It was as if everyone was just like, "Oh, don't worry, you'll deal with that." And it was just like McGinn here. It really annoyed me. Like, he wasn't like busting a gut to go and help out Tielemans. It was just like, Tielemans will just deal with this, and etc. And then even when in this moment that McGinn gets the opportunity to win the ball off Bellegarde, he doesn't. And it's like Bellegarde turns and it's up to Tielemans. And I just felt like there was a real lack of responsibility from key players at certain times. And again, here, this one, it's like McGinn, okay, he's sort of like stood up, ain't ignoring it. Ball's gone into Lamina. Who's on Lamina there? It's like, get at him, somebody like close him down, or just, you can't allow players like this amount of time to take a touch, get it at his feet, whip it in the back post. So it was just one of those where there were just certain things that were just really frustrating. And I think if you go to the goal as well, it's a loose pass from Carlos that it's like the pass is on, the pass is there, it's a first timer into Onana. If we see from this picture here where you can see the actual pitch, like if that pass goes into Onana there, he's sort of like rolling it into Onana. So Onana steps on it and then Onana drives forward, because the amount of space Onana would have had there to drive into it, it's the pitch is there for him, the green grass is there, but it's a real loose, lethargic, bad pass that just goes into Cunha. And all of this just played into that first half for me. And it was just really frustrating to see us play like that. And again, we've got that other one, this area is something that I don't like seeing this anymore, because it's too easy. It's too easy for this little clip ball over the back of us. And we've got Strand Larsen running on goal. And, I never felt like he was going to score from here. But I think a better player probably scores or does something more.
Yeah, I think on this one particularly, I think Carlos, it's a few minutes later after he's made the mistake with a lax pass, but not that he makes up for it, but in that play there, he does a good job and gets back and puts the pressure on Strand Larsen and he doesn't score. So it's one of them. It's just it was a loose pass, but I'm glad it didn't. I don't feel like it affected the rest of his game, at least.
No, and I think he made up for it as well, especially with that block on Aït-Nouri. The one that sort of lost, like, clipped it wide and could have snuck in. So, it just wasn't the best. And I just don't want that to start creeping in at home. I think the last two we've been a bit, on another day, better teams, we won't keep coming back. So that's just something that I want to highlight in the first half. But the game of two halves, we're going to talk a lot of positives now, because it was a completely different Aston Villa in the second half. And you can see here now that this is the first half. And then when we scroll to the second half, with the introduction of Leon Bailey, it's a completely different Villa side. So Earl, talk to me about the really good things that we saw in the second half.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first and most striking thing is just how many more passes there are, how many more links between the players in the network between the first and the second half, and especially on the right-hand side, like you say, with Leon Bailey just being there high and wide. I don't think it was, the best game Bailey's ever had, but just his presence really on that right-hand side changed things. I think it's probably a lot more balanced than the average positions look, especially going forward as well, because Maatsen compared to Bailey has a lot more passes in build up, a lot more defensive actions, kind of deeper in our half. So his average position kind of looks a bit deeper. But going forward as well, he had that width and that height as well, and pushing Wolves back on the left hand side. So I thought, yeah, it was a lot better, a lot more balanced. Just on Bailey as well, you can see from the top combinations, we've gone from passes between centre backs, and now we've got the top combination 14 times is Konsa into Bailey. So that's very very positive. And then Ross Barkley, when he came on as well, you can see that, what did he play, 28 minutes? But you can already see all the links that are going through him in just 28 minutes. So yeah, massive.
It's a stark difference from the first half. And what we'd started to do is we'd started to get more territory. We were starting to push Wolves back, which allowed us to have more space, more time on the ball. But again, we've got to talk about Emery. I've said that he's the squad master. He's like, if that was a chess piece, I've invented my own chess piece now. It's called the squad master. And when he starts moving that piece around, and then stuff just starts to happen. And, like you're saying, the introduction of Bailey's width was just massive. I remember the first time that Bailey got on the ball, skinned Ain't Nouri fouled him. It was a foul. He was through Bailey. Probably should have seen a second yellow for me, because he was through and he'd done him, and it was a cynical foul, and he knew what he was doing. So, that sort of set the tone. I think, like you say, you've got the introduction of Barkley there. But what I think Barkley's done good is he's used that link with Bailey as well. And you can see that sort of, because everything's going on that side, Barkley's the one that's sort of like just nipping everything off in every direction. But, if you see number 8, Tielemans, look how advanced he is now. He's sort of like giving a little bit more shape on that left-hand side. But, we've got to talk about Maatsen as well. He's got an 8 count there from Maatsen to Torres. He's in there again with Tielemans to Maatsen in 8 as well. So, he can go under the radar a little bit in this game. But I thought he was really good, and he offered a lot for us. And I think we really started to see Morgan Rogers just getting on the ball, sort of like getting between that midfield as well. And it was just really sort of like pleasing to see. So we've got the shots here as well. So 10 for Wolves, 9 for Villa. And yeah, we've got, the 3 goals came from inside the 18-yard box as well. This one is really good, isn't it, Earl? Because I think it sort of backs up what I was saying, is that you can see the difference between what Bailey does and what McGinn was doing on the right.
Yeah, I wanted to include this. It's obvious that McGinn and Bailey are different players, but this just really shows it for me, because McGinn, he likes to come inside onto his left foot, doesn't he? I feel like he's probably quite one-footed on his left, so he's always coming inside. But then Bailey, he just holds that width a lot better, and obviously he's a lot more advanced higher up the pitch. And there's pros and cons, and there's situations where both will be better. But just for this game, Bailey was so important for me. If you think back to the first half and all the kind of trouble that Ain't Nouri was causing us down that side, I think just the introduction of Bailey and having his threat and just his presence high up the pitch just really forced Ain't Nouri backwards. And having that attacking player on the pitch actually, helped us defensively, because Ain't Nouri then can't get as far forward. And so yeah, it was just good to have him back, and yeah, big influence for me.
Yeah, definitely. And then you can see here from the density of the actual work that he's doing now. I think he was just bright spark. Wasn't at his best, but I think he's just his threat and his presence, and just him being Leon Bailey added just enough to get the sort of job done for us. And I like this one. I like the look of Rodgers' influence here, because first half I don't think he was great, but second half he started to do the damage, didn't he? He's added 2 numbers to his season now as well, which is really, really pleasing. So Talk to me a little bit about what's of note in this one.
Yeah, well, the thing that I like is just kind of all 4 players that I've highlighted have influence that's going into the opposition box. So that's always positive to see. And yeah, Rodgers was kind of all over the pitch, to be honest, and a lot on the right hand side as well, which is needed at times. So yeah, good to see.
Yeah, and then finally, we'll just have a quick look at this one. So you can see Maatsen coming on as well, which was fantastic to see. He's really starting to show his quality. So we'll have a look at some of the goals, some of the images from the goals, and then we will have a look at the individual player stats as well. So what we can see here then, so from pretty much you can see the substitution of 65. And for me, in the ground, I started to really get a sense of we're going to score here. I think me and the guy that sit next to me, we were both like, it's coming. And you can tell it's coming because of our shape here now. So you've got your 3 at the back here, and then you've sort of got Tielemans holding, you've got your front players, you've got your width, you've got Rodgers in there, look at Wolves' line here. Like Wolves' line is inside the 18-yard box. They're getting deeper and deeper. Gary O'Neill started bringing on those defenders. He went to a 5 at the back, and Villa just started to just really grow into the game. And again, you can see here, this wasn't part of a goal. I think we won a corner from this instance, but you can already see now that Rodgers is starting to find that space, and we've got that threat with Maatsen on that left-hand side, and everything just started to just churn and just started to work. And we was a little bit fortunate with the first goal, I thought, Earl, because Carlos played a bad pass, didn't he? He sort of played a bad pass that sort of went to a Wolves player, but he was able to cut it out, was able to retrieve it. Durant does really well. And this is a little bit like what me and Justin were talking about on the match reaction, is that if you look at Durant's position here, he can go deep, which allows Watkins to stay forward. And by him going deep, and what you normally find with like really good strikers is that, look at players like Ivan Toney, when they sort of go deep, when they look after the ball, they don't lose it, do they? They just keep the ball. They've got a good touch. They've got a good weight of pass. We're able to get free here. And Morgan Rodgers in this position now, he's just going to start to become deadly because he plays a wonderful pass to Watkins. We get the first goal. And in my mind, from this moment, we were always just going to go on and win the game. So do you want to touch on anything from this goal?
Yeah, I think for me, it was just desire. We wanted the ball more than them, to be perfectly honest. I mean, the ball went into Durant. It was, a bit of a heavy touch. But he goes back and wins the ball, gets it back, and we end up going through and score. So I think, like I say, it was just a bit more desire. We wanted the ball. We don't give up on plays, and we see it. We'll probably come on to it as well, but there's examples, further on, Watkins running down the ball and that kind of thing. So it's the second half for me was just a lot more energy and a lot more desire. But yeah, this play in particular, when Rodgers gets that ball in the space and he's running at it was Mosquera, wasn't it, at the time?
Mm-hmm.
And then he's got Watkins to the right of him. I mean, it's just opens it up for Watkins really, because Mosquera has to worry about Rodgers, and then he picked out the pass, good weight of pass, and Watkins finishes.
Yeah, great first touch as well. That touch, he had to be perfect, and it set him up really, really well. So next up, we will go to this one where I think it's kind of like what you were saying about Watkins. The screw had been turned in this game now. Wolves were petrified of us, and Watkins sort of just gets free. Again, another cynical foul, and this is where Mosquera gets injured as well. So I just want to wish Mosquera all the best, and hopefully he's okay, because I think you never want to see any player leaving a football pitch on a stretcher. So hopefully he can be okay. And then I'm calling a McPhee goal. I'm calling a McPhee set piece here. Throwing a set pieces to me. And this comes from a throw-in, doesn't it? So we've already had a corner. And now that's where Tielemans is with a throw-in. And, the ball goes back into Tielemans. Gets it out his feet really nicely. And what a wonderful ball this is. I mean, this is like postage stamp stuff. Hit it in there, back post, a runner. We see Consa here as well. We see Carlos. They're both queuing up at the back post, and it's a great finish from Consa. It's a great finish because it's sort of like he's diving in, edge of the, outside of his foot. But what I will say as well is about our set piece deliveries, Tielemans and Maatsen. Those deliveries that we've got there, even Barkley on free kicks and set pieces is really good. So, we've got players that have got great ability. I think we had do you have a free kick or something? And Maatsen put one in, and it sort of like fizzed across the box. Like that was a really good ball he put in. But yeah, brilliant stuff. And like you were talking about the desire for the first goal, Consa there, what desire that is. It is like, I'm getting on the end of this. I'm scoring it. So that was really pleasing to see. And then Tielemans, just unbelievable here. He's already sort of picked it up here, turned one of them. He's then sort of done everything he can to keep this ball in play. And I know I've mentioned this on debriefs before, Earl, but about the pre-assist, because for me, the pre-assist here is very, very important. The Maatsen pre-assist into Rodgers, who Rodgers then puts the assist in for Duran. But great vision here from Maatsen because, Rodgers knows on my bike, get into that area. Maatsen puts a great ball in, and then our man Duran bags again. So, thoughts on
so much to like about that goal. So much to like about that one. I think that was the one I was just referring to before. I think it was a Martinez long ball. I can't remember if it was a goal kick or he launched it, but Watkins chased down the ball, didn't he? He could have just let it go out of play, but he chased down the ball, put pressure on the defender, and then Tielemans wins it, doesn't he? Like you say, the pre-assist from Maatsen was spot on.
I mean, look at it. It's great.
Yeah. The run as well. I mean, we got to talk about the run because perfect.
Yeah, it's great.
And then the weight of the pass from Rodgers was brilliant, and then Duran as well, like really mature because he holds off, stays on side really well because he could have easily strayed offside, and then empty open net. So there's a lot to like for that goal for me.
Yeah,
you know what, we're 2-1 up. A lot of teams in the Premier League would have just sat back at 2-1. It was really late in the game as well, but we're gonna go and get the third and kill the game off. So all around that was my favourite goal for sure.
Yeah. That goal is very Villa-esque, isn't it? That's a Villa sort of like a playbook goal of like how dangerous we can be with like pace, power. We've got so much threat all over the pitch. So, such a stark contrast from like first half to second half. And, I imagine people watching this will be like, God, like that first half compared to that half is like mental. But we've really got to start talking about a player now. And we will get on to Youri Tielemans, but we're going to talk about Ross Barkley because he's a player that like, I remember like when we signed him and all this business of like fans sort of like not accepting him as such because of what happened the last time. But he's really blossomed into this complete playmaker who can just dictate tempo, who can read the game really well, who's got this mature confident swagger about him that I went to the fan zone, right, and I've spotted it now. So I'm a bit weird. Like I watch players' reactions and stuff, and I watch who gets off the bus and who's got his headphones in and head down, and who's like, yeah. So like, Conser gives like a little thumbs up, like he's quite happy and that, and then you get like Barkley just like comes off the bus and he's got his little his little wash bag with him, and he just goes. Like, he just holds his little wash bag up and just walks in. He don't really smile much. And I'm like, he just goes there. He just wants to play football, go home, do his job. And he's just absolutely brilliant. And again, stats-wise here, 100% pass completion. But look at where those final third passes were going to. They were going out to that right-hand side. And he's just brilliant, and I just think he's such a good player, and I think he's really now knocking on that door to be starting games for Villa because the tempo's there, the reading of the game's there, and I'm just really enjoying watching him because there was a time in that second half as well where he'd just been booked, hadn't he? And then he just makes this crunching slide tackle challenge, times it to perfection, and it's just like those little percentages of like winning individual battles against opposition players. And I just think like he's so good. And for the money that we've got for him, what an astute signing. Like you won't get for me a pound for pound better signing than this summer and from that summer window than Ross Barkley for the impact that he's going to have at Villa. So yeah, I just want to give him a bit of praise because I think he deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 4 of those passes that you touched on out to the right were out to Leon Bailey as well. So it's progressive, forward-thinking passes as well. But yeah, he's just when he comes on, he just has that intelligence. He must really be watching the game when he's sat on the bench because he just seems to know exactly what we need, and he's got that read of the game. Yeah, and he's just impacting it every time he comes on, and it just makes that right side of the pitch look a lot better, to be honest. Just as we saw from the passing network, all that the links just go through him on the right hand side. So
yeah, how do you think he's doing this, Emery? How is he sort of? I mean, all my life as a Villa fan, really, and it's not been great, right? It's not been the best. And I just keep thinking, like, everything I've wanted from Villa as a fan, I'm now starting to see. You're seeing signs of, like, a really good team coming back, fighting back, able to sort of come back. But how are we getting how are we getting these subs to come on and massively impact games? Because in all my lifetime, pretty much a sub comes on, it's like for like, and they just sort of like just play, and they don't really sometimes do much. But these players are coming on now and just changing games. How are we doing it?
It seems a bit unfair, doesn't it? Giving Emery squad depth, it's a bit of a cheat code because he's just the chess grandmaster, like you say. But yeah, I think he can just read the game very well, and especially in the first half. And a lot of managers, can be a bit stubborn, but he's just willing to change things, isn't he? Made the subs at half time, and the past couple of matches. A lot of managers wouldn't do that. But beyond the tactics as well, it's just the belief and no excuses and never say die attitude really that he puts into the players, because we've gone behind in the last 2 Premier League games, but there's no panic. There would have been panic in the past, but there's just the belief there from the players that we can it's a setback, but we can go ahead and get something from the game. So I think that's massive. But yeah, what a manager.
He's just an absolute legend. And for me, pretty much player of the season so far, Yuri Tielemans had a really strong game again, absolutely everywhere. Pass completion lower, but what I will say about that is majority of those passes are forward. Those aren't cut out sideways passes; they're forward passes.
Yeah. So on the pass completion there, I include like corners and crosses in that as well. A lot of other sites that you see won't have. So you might look somewhere else, you might have like an 85% passing accuracy. So it wasn't 79%. It's not a bad thing. I don't focus too much on pass completion for Tielemans, especially when these passes that are unsuccessful actually into the box and looking to be creative passes. But yeah, he's just so consistent for me there. 24 passes, inside the final third. I think he had 10 progressive passes, which is a lot. So yeah, fair play to him.
Yeah, and he's just like absolutely everywhere. Rodgers again, he's so good. Like how he's just evolving at Villa. He's like a Pokemon. Like he's come as like the first. I don't even know what they're called. I don't know why I've said that because I don't even like Pokemon, but that's just come in my head. Like, and then he's just gonna keep evolving into like the one at the end, like just this like absolute animal. So yeah, don't know why I've just said that. But then this one, touches, he's everywhere. Like, these look like stars in the sky, don't they? Like, they're just like, he's just absolutely everywhere on this pitch. I'm really pleased now, Earl, that he got those 2 assists because his numbers now, 2 assists in 5 games, start to look a bit better now, doesn't it? So, we can start to say, like, when you sort of wax lyrically about him, you're like, okay, yeah, he's got 2 assists now. Watkins, he's got 3 Premier League goals in 5 games, banging form. Duran, 4 Premier League goals in 5 games, banging form. So, the numbers to the wider sphere as a player, you need the numbers, don't you? Because that's what a lot of people judge players on. So, now they're sort of getting those numbers there, we can all start to be like, right, the numbers are there, just keep going now.
I think because of how good he is, and you can see it from him on the pitch, just how good he is. You kind of forget how few Premier League minutes he's actually played, because it's not a lot, to be fair. It's just the end of last season and this season so far. So yeah, adding the numbers in on top of that. I mean, he got some goals and an assist last season. So adding that on to this season, his numbers are pretty good. But yeah, to get off the mark this season is massive. And you could tell his final ball was a bit more crisp. And yeah, hopefully that's the floodgates open and more goals and assists this season. But yeah, he's, like you see from the touch map, he's absolutely everywhere, and it's just so important having him in that free role because he's just getting involved everywhere in the pitch. And he's got a really good link up with Watkins as well. They've really got a good understanding of each other already, and where each other's going to be. So yeah.
Well, I was pleased with, again, like when I say I watch weird things and look out for weird things in football, I was really pleased with Duran's reaction to Watkins' goal as well. Duran goes up to Watkins, gives him a bit of a hug and etc. And all of these little things help for sort of like team camaraderie and just a real good feel, like happy for each other. And again, that link up hopefully is going to look quite good because what you've seen is that although Duran didn't link up for Watkins' first goal, he helped create it. He sort of got stuck in, gave the pass for Rodgers. Rodgers slipped him through. So it's really like working that sort of combination. And again, we'll end on Duran because it's hard not to, but he scored another goal.
He's unbelievable, isn't he? It's just the goals to minutes ratio is it's unbelievable when you look at it and the names that he's up there with. But yeah, I mean, goal scoring aside, though, like you're saying, it's his overall games coming on. It's, still got work to do, but like we were talking about earlier with that, his touch wasn't great, but then he goes and wins the ball back, and he does that quite a lot. We saw in the young boys game as well for his goal that disallowed. He was absolutely crucial in the build up for his own disallowed goal. So yeah, that side of his game's coming on massive as well. He's strong in the air, offers something different to Watkins, and then his finishing is unbelievable. So yeah, really happy with him. And what's he on, 4 and 5? So yeah, I think we're on for double digits.
Well, I mean, he's only got to get 6 more, and he's got 10. So he's going to get
Christmas,
loads more. Yeah, I mean, even Watkins now hunting down Gabby's record. I mean, you don't need many now to overtake that either. So yeah, really, really, really pleasing to see. And what is pleasing as well now is teams that we play against, when they look over and see who's coming on, they're going to start thinking, oh, God. As that game ebbs on, some teams sort of probably start to feel a bit more like comfortable. Whereas when they're playing Villa now and they look over and think, oh, Christ, Duran.
Though.
Yeah.
Duran, but everyone. We make 5 subs a game. And each one of them, I know Emi Buendia came on and, with only, didn't have too much time, but every sub that came on was very good. Matson, we've talked about Barkley changed the game. And then obviously Duran got another goal. So everyone that's coming off the bench is making a proper impact. So yeah, teams can't rest on the laurels against Aston Villa.
Yeah, it's massive. And now that just I think finally we'll end on, 3 wins in a week, and I said that when we start playing in Europe, we start churning out the games. When games start coming thick and fast, we were absolutely amazing last season at it. So it's been a really good week. And then now we go on to Wickham on Tuesday, which again, hopefully there's going to be rotation for some players that haven't been playing. And then we go into Ipswich at the weekend on Sunday. So again, the games are now coming thick and fast. But this is what we want. We want to be playing lots of games. We don't want to be a team that are sort of like out of the cup early in September. It's like Groundhog Day. This is where the big teams, the top teams, start churning out the games and start churning out the wins. And we're at the minute, we're able to really do that. And again, another debrief where we've won, but another one where there's plenty of things to work on, to improve on, to get better at. But yeah, just I like talking to you, Earl, about these wins. It's becoming a habit. Winning is becoming a habit. So yeah, really, really pleased. And up the Villa.
The Villa.